Welcome back. Final segment of the Zandt Insurance Countdown to Friday. B-Hop, Mo P. You know, we were talking during the break about that 7 or 8 year old kid that was playing Australian rules or football.
Rugby, yeah.
And I'm trying to keep it together because this kid mowing down the field of kids. I remember watching the kid trailing this kid. Now he's kind of you remember the movie Dennis the Menace, and they were talking about, she said, "Why aren't you a fat boy, George?" Remember that? Well, this kid is a little chubby, but he was probably the most athletic kid on the field and had speed to run away from the field. But man, he was like a little bowling ball, dude. He would actually search for the contact, Mo. These kids were scared to even tackle him, and the ones that stepped up, oh my goodness.
He was veering into people and stiff arming them. He was slowing down to stiff arm folks from behind. It's crazy. Look it up on YouTube.
Gosh, yeah, go to YouTube and check out. I don't know if it was Australian rules, rugby, something like this. This dude. Well, first off, I can see him being a running back at some point in time. He probably won't look like that when he gets a little older. But man, the way he was running down the field, it was ridiculous. There were kids that didn't want any part of this dude.
Smart kids.
Absolutely. So we wrap up the show with a segment that we call Pull Apart's Peak Performances. That's when we take a look at some of the performances that stood out to us. So Mo, I mean, where do we begin? I mean, you got so many kids obviously this year or this past weekend that had great performances. But let's start with if I can get my notes up here. Good gravy, good.
Let's start with Seth Carlile.
Thank you for pulling me out of the.
I'm glad to help.
Once again, you have pulled me from the fire, Maurice.
Seth Carlile, a junior quarterback up in Macon County, who also plays safety on the defensive side of the ball. 19 carries, 219 yards, scored 6 touchdowns, added a 65-yard pick six. Macon County defeated Jackson County 62-42. So big night for Seth Carlile. Got himself into the TSSAA record book with those 7 total touchdowns. He's tied for 8th all time. So big performance for Seth Carlile of the Macon County Tigers.
All right, so we're going to the top of my list now. Let's go to Beach and talk about senior running back Alex Van Zandt.
Did not get into the end zone, Mr. Van Zandt didn't, but he had 23 carries for 118 yards, and they were huge. We've talked about Beach already. Big win for them Friday night, 24-23 against Hendersonville.
How about Austin Collier, the tailback from MJCA?
Mount Juliet Christian, Austin Collier, the senior, 13 carries, 269 yards, 6 touchdowns. Dan Davis and the Saints over there with a 60-7 win over Houston County. And what's interesting about that is a couple of weeks ago, Austin Collier had to sit out. He had a root canal on Friday before their game with Richland. So their sophomore, Darius Heilich, stepped in, went for 354 yards and 8 touchdowns against Richland. So they've got the running game taken care of over at MJCA.
All right, so let's slide over to Good Pasture and talk about Jermaine Mason. How about him?
You know, the numbers aren't necessarily impressive. 7 carries for 55 yards, 2 catches for 37 yards, but had a 71-yard punt return to the house, and he had an 80-yarder to the house, along with scoring a rushing touchdown from 29 yards out and a 38-yard touchdown reception. Good Pasture's 3-1 now with a 35-10 win over FRA. And Good Pasture had lost 22 straight games. They've now won 3 in a row, so maybe they're getting ready to get things turned around over there.
Now, Huntland has a guy that's committed to Wake Forest, am I correct?
That's correct. DJ Taylor. He's a linebacker, but he's also a heck of a running back, apparently, because he had 29 carries for 317 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 53-21 win over Richland. So that was their first win for the Hornets down there. They get Mount Pleasant this weekend, and obviously they want to try to keep DJ rolling on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. So that has been our Prep Rewind segment here on the Zandt Insurance Countdown to Friday.
No,
that's not. I'm sorry. Our Pull Apart Peak Performances. I was about to give them a spot too. As a matter of fact, that's brought to you by Pull Apart, which has 26 locations. That's nationwide. Or check them out, of course, at pullapart.com. That's pullapart.com. Now we're talking about sleepers with Tony still kind of button jeffing about it, but obviously Landon Guidry is not a sleeper by any stretch. Now we don't mention him in the peak performances part, but when you look at a guy that had a block punt, he ran for a touchdown, he had a sack, had an INT, and he had that he returned for 20. He had a 24-yard catch too. Basically, this dude was all over the field.
Literally.
So we've got literally. So we've got to kind of acknowledge people like that kind of do it on both sides of the football. No.
Yeah, and the thing is, they kind of expected that out of him this time around. Again, Mississippi State commit, had a great junior season on the defensive side of the ball, but possibly Independence's best athlete. And Scott Blade said after the game that he had his best game against arguably the toughest team we'll play. So, you know, big players make big plays in big games.
I know that's right. The 3 Bs.
There we go.
Big players, big games, and whatever else big that you said. Big plays. There it is. Hey, I got to give special thanks to the people that obviously keep us on the airways, the Zandt Insurance Group. Get your free quote online right now, or you can just give them a buzz in the morning at 800-356-4282. It's a smarter way basically to compare and save, which means they shop your policies to find out the best policy for you. Let Zandt Insurance make it easy at ZandtInsurance.com. It's ZandtINS.com. Also, got to give a special thank you to our Classic Sports Barbershop down in Franklin, Tennessee for helping us with Prep Rewind with Keith Bullock. And of course, we got to give Pull Apart some special love too for helping us recognize those athletes that do things news and noteworthy in the Middle Tennessee area. So that's about going to wrap it up for another edition. You know what I'm saying?
That went pretty quick, didn't it?
It did, does. Well, it does.
It does.
Yeah, so
Does.
Giles County, right? Watching the little brother of Bo Wallace, former Ole Miss standout.
Kind of, sort of. Giles County's at Marshall County. That's
Okay.
where his little brother
But you're going to
is.
Marshall County? Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right.
So look out for me.
Absolutely. So you guys go out and have a great week. Go watch yourself some high school football this weekend, and we'll catch you same bat time, same bat channel right here on the Zandt Insurance Countdown to Friday. See you long, everybody.